What up? I'm AJ Ramos, and this is the second episode or podcast of The Locker Room. And I am pleased to be joined by a former teammate of mine, Patrick Sandoval. Patrick, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? It's going well. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, I'm happy you're here, man. I was asking you earlier if you saw the playoff games, but you said you haven't got a chance to. Where you at right now, actually?
I'm in Arizona right now. I was actually rehabbing during the game one of that doubleheader, so they didn't have it on though. They had some football talk shows on, of
Oh yeah,
course. Yeah.
it's kind of wild. Like that's one thing I miss about being in the locker room. Like when football season starts, like everyone
Yeah.
gathering around like the
hmm
TVs and like. Do you do fantasy football?
Oh yeah. I'm in like three leagues or four leagues. It's too much, but it's so fun. It's
How you
so
doing in
fun.
them?
I'm 2-1 in all of them right now, and
Oh,
I'm
okay.
this week's not so good in all of them. So we'll see.
All
We
right.
still have hope. We still have hope. There's two games tonight, so we'll see.
Yeah. I never really got into that. I was never really like I watched football, but only for the
Yeah.
social aspects of like kicking it with the boys and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just never really good at fantasy and stuff, keeping up with stats. But so I want to take it to you grew up an Angels fan, correct? Am I right about that?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What?
Kind of, sort of, kind of, sort of. I grew up going to a lot of Angels games. I didn't really grow up watching a ton of baseball, like on TV or anything. So the closest place to us was Anaheim, the Angel Stadium. And so my uncle would always get tickets from work or whatever. So he'd always take me. He knew I loved baseball, loved playing sports. So always had me around that kind of environment. So I was at Angel Stadium a lot growing up.
So was it safe to say that the Angels are one of the teams you wanted to play for, or were you eyeing maybe the Dodgers because obviously it's easy to love the
Yeah.
Dodgers with all the hype
Yeah.
around them?
So my family, a lot of my family were Dodger fans, but it didn't really matter to me. I wanted to like playing in Anaheim was awesome. I want to be close to home and it worked out really well.
So when you got to play for the Angels, was there ever a moment of a realization of, damn, I used to like watch all of these games as a fan, and now like I'm here as a player. Like, did that moment ever hit you, or do you not allow yourself to think about those things because you have a goal to
Yeah.
achieve?
No, for sure. My first start at home in 2019, I was walking out of the bullpen and walking to the dugout from the outfield and like kind of just taking it all in. And it was wild to me. I had that thought like, wow, I grew up sitting in these seats. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, I grew up like watching big leaguers play baseball, but like I literally grew up watching the games at this stadium in those seats. And I'm like, it was a really full circle moment. It was really cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember like the first time I played in because I'm from Texas, and I
hmm
only went to one professional baseball game in my whole life up until the point like when I played in the big leagues, and that game was at the because I'm 6 hours away from any stadium,
Yeah.
and that was at the Ranger Stadium, the ballpark in Arlington. And
Oh
I
yeah.
remember going to that one game. I think maybe it was Nolan Ryan's like farewell game or something when he was like 56, still pitching in the big
That's
league,
insane.
which is crazy. Think about that, bro.
That
Like,
guy's different.
yeah. Like you're a young buck still, what you 27, and like you feel the aches and pains of what it's like to be in the big leagues at 27.
Oh yeah. Oh
Can you
yeah.
imagine being 40, whatever, 44 or whatever he was? That's crazy. But anyway,
Yeah.
when I got my first outing there, I had like first of all, I had like 250 people in the stands. Like and that was mostly family members. I made like there was
Yeah.
some friends mixed in, but I have a huge family.
hmm
So when I got to play at the Rangers at the ballpark in Arlington, the old ballpark, it was a surreal moment. But speaking on like your first start, do you have any we all have our routines and rituals and things like that. What is your like routine as far as like to get your mind right before your starts?
I get in the weight room like 2, 3 hours before the game and go through a little like call it potentiation, a little workout, and that right there kind of locks me in. I remember I used to get a lot of jitters like before games, and I wouldn't really do much. So I'd sit in my locker, I'd get in the training room, maybe get my arms stretched, and then just sit there with headphones on, be that headphones guy with the
Yep.
with the hoodie on, just not talking to anyone. And it didn't really help me that much. So, just talking to different guys and kind of trial and error, I found a routine that kind of worked for me to kind of just like get my head away from, oh yeah, like you're about to perform right now. You better not mess this up. Like, no, but whatever. But all the preparation like beforehand just takes away any sort of like butterflies or jitters you feel. If anything, gives me more confidence. I feel more prepared to go out there, and it's just you feel good and you hopefully play good.
Right. Can you explain to people what potentiation is? So like give
Yeah.
them like a little
So it's basically
breakdown.
basically just priming the body and getting it ready for maximum effort, peak performance, whatever you want to call it. So I get in the weight room about 3 to 2.5 hours before the game. I go through a kind of a full body lift. It's very quick, like four reps of each movement, whether it be a squat, a deadlift, a bench press, a push, a pull, some sort of, med ball rotational throws or, slamming balls, like just getting my body ready to perform at a high level.
Okay. And you said like that for I used to do something similar. So like,
Hmm.
closing out ball games, what my routine was I would take a nap from like a little bit before the anthem until around like the second inning.
Yeah.
And if I would make sure to tell our strength coach like, hey, if I sleep past this, or if it's sometimes you get quick innings, then
Hmm.
make sure you wake me up. So he would wake me up, and then I would do like my mobility stretching and stuff like that while I was watching the game. Because one of the biggest things for me is I wanted to see what strikes or the umpire's zone, and there's no better
Hmm.
way to see that than in the locker room and seeing like the box around it and see where he's calling. And the other thing I wanted to see is how each hitter was performing that specific day. Now, I don't know if you're big on analytics and all that stuff. I really wasn't. I was big on like what you're doing that day, what the hitters are
Hmm.
doing that day, how their confidence, their walk to the plate, all those things. Like, all right, that's telling me a story. And then I paired that with how I was feeling. So I would watch that, and then I would do a little potentiation. But mine, I would do like a heavier like deadlift or so, something like that,
Hmm.
to like really get
Yeah.
the testosterone and everything feeling strong. And then I would do explosive movements, and I would do that both with upper and lower bodies, jumping, push-ups, all those things. And then I'd walk out in the sixth inning and walk out to the bullpen, do my weighted ball, so that whenever that phone rang, I never had to like, oh, I got to get ready, I got to get loose.
Hmm.
From throw one, I was on the actual game mound. I was on the rubber throwing my first pitch, so I can be ready within a hitter. So
Yeah.
that was like my routine, and that potentiation helped me a lot. And also, too, the other thing you pointed out is that if you're sitting still and with all those like nerves and stuff,
Hmm.
those thoughts can go crazy.
Yeah.
And depending on what vibe you're in, like that can be good or that can
Yeah.
be bad. So I want you to explain to me what happens if you're in that mind soup and it's like going really fast. What happens if you're in a negative space? How do you get out of that?
Ooh, it's tough. I mean, that's something you have to kind of, experience to be able to get yourself out of it. And what I've
Yeah.
found, at least, going through the minor leagues, and this is kind of, I didn't have to learn that stuff in the big leagues. I had the minor leagues to, kind of prepare me for everything. And meditation became a huge thing about
Mm.
around 2018, I'd say, my like second to last year in the minor leagues. I was with the Houston Astros, and they really emphasized like mindfulness to the pitchers. I don't know how it was with the hitters. They kind of, I don't know, had their own, philosophy, but they preached to us a lot of mindfulness and breathing, belly breathing, and like focusing. If you can't focus on anything, focus on your breath, and that'll bring you back to the present. So that's something that I still stick with to this day. Before the game, I go through my preparation, and then I always find 10 minutes to find a dark space in the clubhouse, a weight room, somewhere. I'll find a dark space, lay down, put a towel over my head, put my headphones in, and I'll do like a guided meditation that usually, brings me back to even and gets me ready to get on the field.
Does someone make that guided meditation for you, or is you just like search YouTube or have your
I've
own?
done I've done a bit of both. So I have one recording of a like a guided meditation slash like almost a hype, you know,
Okay.
type I don't know, a hype video or something. And then the other one is just like this app, the Calm app. I'll go on
Oh
there
yeah.
and just do the guided the like 10-minute daily I think it's called the daily mindfulness or something like that. And I love that one actually. The lady's
Awesome.
voice, very soothing, and it's like I don't know, it kind of just locks me in.
Awesome. Yeah, because some people may think that like you want to be in a very hype mind state when you go pitch it in a major league game or even close out a game. But I
Yeah.
found that sometimes I can be overhyped. And the days that I felt my best and had the most energy were the days where I was throwing balls all over the place and I
Hmm.
couldn't rein it in. So how do you understand where you're at as far as like, well, today I need a little bit more of the hype, or today I need a little more of the calming one? And how do you like, I guess, navigate between those two so that you're in a as good of a place as possible when you're going out there on the mound?
Yeah, I mean, those are. like that'll happen sometimes. The moment I wake up for a start, I'm like, man, I need some like, a little extra today. Like I don't, whether I wake up and I'm like, man, I didn't get a good night's sleep, or I feel a little heavy today. I need to, get my blood moving. I need to get going and get hyped up, or it's I'm a little jittery today. I need to like, pull the reins back and slow down and just breathe a little bit. So that could happen the moment I wake up, or that could happen all the way up until like I push play on the phone and I'm like,
Mm.
nah, I need this one instead. It's just a feel thing. You gotta know your body well enough to know what it needs.
I think that's one of the most important things to do is to know yourself and
Yeah.
to have yourself have your routines and knowing yourself to the max so that you can figure out what you need because I think a lot of people don't really take the time to know themselves to know like what makes them tick, what causes fear, what causes happiness, whatever these things are. And I think when you do the work, then you're able to analyze when you go to the field or when you're on the mound or you're going to your job, whatever it is, like maybe today I don't need a coffee. Maybe today I don't need X, Y, Z or whatever, so that you can make sure to have to go through your day as good as possible. The other thing that I wanted to ask, like you're like you're a guy that I feel like uses emotion, right? When
Mhm.
you pitch, whether that be anger or whatever it is on the mound, how do you go about making sure that that isn't something that takes you away from your game? You know what I mean? Like if someone makes an error,
Mhm.
obviously, you're able to use that anger to like turn it into fuel for you. But
Mhm.
have you ever noticed there are times where that like almost like taking a coffee whenever you don't need a coffee?
Yeah.
Have you ever had times where that turned into a negative on you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you try to feed off the energy of the game. At least in my experiences, I try to feed off of how the game's going and take control of each, like whether it's an error. Okay, I need to make a better pitch now and get out of this, or I need to give me a ground ball and get us double play here. And there's some times where you really like, yeah, okay, an error pisses you off, but then you got to focus it in. Or there's sometimes you're like, oh, I really need to make a pitch right now, and you kind of over stress yourself on, hey, this like don't throw a ball here. You better throw a strike. And sometimes, as you know, that can be the reverse effect. Is like or you're playing golf or whatever, you see a tree and you're like, I better not hit this tree. Boom, you hit the tree. It's like it could have a reverse effect on you. So there's just you got to trial and error. Again, I come back to my breath, and that's what something that really brings me back to even and brings me into the present and makes me focus a little bit more on what I got to do.
So what do you do? So when you're out in the mountain, someone makes an error, right? Do
Yeah.
you go to your breath? Like, is there a certain technique that you do, or is there like what is it that you do to lock yourself in? Because I've been in those moments where, whenever I'm going good, I can throw a ball and it just misses. It can go either way, right? The
Yeah.
umpire is just like, oh, ball, and I'm like, it's all right. That was a little bit off. I can navigate this space. But then there's times where I'm in maybe a more of a negative space, and I throw a pitch that just misses, and I feel myself want it too bad. And
Hmm.
if I'm in a conscious state, I can feel myself want it too bad. Then I'm like, whoa, 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 that moment's gone. You're having a little bit trouble letting go of that moment, and if you don't let go of that moment, it's gonna speed up, and
It spirals out. Yeah.
it's gonna remind you of all the times maybe you had bad outings. So
Hmm.
how do you navigate that to where have you gotten to the point where you're conscious where you feel like you're over emotional and how do you turn it back, how do you turn it
Yeah.
back to like
So yeah, I have my moments on the mountain where I can feel myself getting a little too amped up out there or whatever. What I usually do is I try to find something in the stadium before the game. So Angel Stadium, it's one of the suites. I just look at the window and it's always there. Look at it, breathe, or close my eyes, breathe, open my eyes, look at it, and then I'm back in. Or if it's like I think Dodger Stadium, they've got like I think they have the numbers up top there
oh yeah.
behind the plate. And so I'll look at that. I'll look up and then I'm back in. Like that's usually my thing is just find a focal spot to bring you back to back to even.
Okay, I thought you was looking at maybe some honeys in the stands or something like
No,
that,
no,
you know what I mean?
not me, not when I'm.
Like what's he looking at up there? Must be something nice up there, man. Oh no. So, everybody has these moments where they're, struggling or when they have low points, Is there a specific moment in your career so far that stands out to you that you felt like, man, you just felt maybe maybe not confident in yourself, or you just you felt like there was a lot of mental hurdles to get over? Has Is there any moment that stands out to you?
Yeah, for sure. Mine happened very early in my minor league career, I feel like. Just getting drafted. Well, first of all, getting drafted, I had no idea what to expect. Didn't know anything about pro ball, the pro ball life, being in the minor leagues. And it was a huge, just like culture shock to me going. I mean, I grew up in Orange County, California. I fly out to Florida to play in the GCL. And it's like, you got to really, really love baseball to like be able to put up with the highs and lows of just that league itself. And then, I straight up wanted to quit. Like probably a month or two into that season, I had a terrible season, terrible time. I was burnt out from the high school season. I threw like 100
Mm,
innings in high school, and yeah, it was just brutal. Had a terrible season that year. Come back for my second full season, or my first full season of pro ball. I have an even worse year in that
mm.
Appalachian League, and I remember like 2 or 3 weeks. We had like 2 or 3 weeks left in the season, and I'm throwing a bullpen, and I cannot find the plate. Like everything's bouncing. I'm overthrowing. I'm just like getting amped up. I'm 19 years old on the mound, and my pitching coach is like, kind of just like, what is this kid doing? And so he pulls me aside in the dugout. We have like this deep talk. I'm talking about how like I want to succeed, how I'm not being successful, basically just how I suck. And I like broke down in the dugout, basically just me and him. And he's actually, I think he's the assistant pitching coach in the big leagues with the Astros right now. So it's Bill Murphy. And every time I see him, we play and we talk, and we always go back to that conversation that we had. And yeah, that was probably like the lowest I'd ever felt, and just in baseball and even maybe in my life. Like, just didn't feel confident in myself, my abilities. And then, so I took that into the off season, and I was like, I had to go all in. I was like, I'm going to get released. Like, I've had two really bad seasons. I wasn't a high draft pick. I haven't done anything to show any improvement. And so that off season, I like just went even more all in as much as I could, got a trainer, started eating right, like changed everything that I was doing with my life. And it was just onward and upward from there.
So, when I asked this question, I feel like you might say it was because of talk that you had with Bill. But why didn't you quit? The talk alone,
Yeah.
like, that's just someone saying words to you. There's something in
Yeah.
you that switched on, that was like, I'm not going to quit.
Yeah. No.
Like, no one can say anything to anybody to make
Hmm.
someone not quit or quit. It's a decision that you make, right? So, like,
Yeah.
if you reflect on it, why do you think you didn't quit?
I think that's exactly why. I mean, I reflected. I reflected on everything. I reflected on what I was doing. I was 19 years old. I had to reflect on the decision I made to not go to college and sign out of high school. And why did I do that? And what I came up with was I want to be a big leaguer. I want to be the best baseball player I can possibly be. And then I reflected on, hey, what am I doing to make that happen? And I was like, you're not really doing shit to make it happen, honestly. Like your
Mm,
off-season workouts are shit. Like you don't prepare well, you whatever. Like I kind of just had a like face yourself in the mirror moment of kind of breaking down your own ego and telling yourself like, hey, you gotta like do this to actually make it. And I think that was something that like burned in me on the inside. Was I just wanted to be the best, and I like wasn't doing anything about it.
yeah, that's a moment, like you said, the looking in the mirror, looking yourself in the mirror and being truthful with yourself. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we try to blame other things, blame other people, situations, like, it's this mound is bad, the food is shit, like, you
Mhm.
blame all these other things instead of being like, well, all right, well, do I have everything else in order? And that's a huge thing to reflect on, and that's really dope. So now we talked about your lowest point. Now let's talk about one of your highest points in your career so far. What do you think is one of your highest
I
points?
think just I think 2021 to 2022, that ride of the the 2021 season, how it played out, how, I thought I totally deserved to make the team out of spring training. Didn't make the team. Last day of spring training, got cut, sent to the alt site in Arizona, and kind of just sitting in that like
Mm.
burn to want to like, I should be on this team. I deserve to be on this team. And then I finally get the call about a month into the season, and I got called up to be on the taxi squad. This is like COVID, still like the end of COVID kind of lingering. And one of the guys on the team was getting his shot or something. and they were like, "Hey, if he like is sick the next day, you're gonna be activated and put in the bullpen." I was like, "Damn, the bullpen, really?" Like, all right, whatever, I'll take it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm up here. I'm happy to be here. I end up getting activated, make a couple appearances out of the bullpen, and then I'm making a couple spot starts here and there. Guys are getting hurt, as you know, like missing starts or getting pushed back a day, so I'm filling in. And then there's this one start. Otani's supposed to pitch in Oakland, and I'm playing catch in the outfield. 3-4 hours before the game, our pitching coach comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, we haven't like seen Shohei or Suzuki, who's supposed to catch. Like, we haven't seen him yet, and like they took the last bus and they're in traffic. So like you might like if he doesn't make it, like you're starting this game, but like I can't tell you for sure if you are or not." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Just have that in mind right now as you're throwing. Like just kind of maybe pull back a little bit, and if we need you to go out of the bullpen today, like you'll be fine. You can make up your throws during the game or whatever." Like, all right. Hour before the game, I'm sitting in my locker and the pitching coach is like, "Hey, you're starting." I was like,
This is your first
"Okay."
start?
This was like, no, no, no. I had made a
Oh,
couple spot
okay.
starts,
Okay. Okay.
but I was like, I was in the bullpen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they tell me, "Hey, you're starting tonight." And it was me and Drew Butera he caught. And I think I went 5 innings, scoreless maybe. I'm not sure. I had a solid outing. And then from there on, they were like, "All right," like I just never went back to the bullpen. And it's just a crazy how things work out. You never know when it's going to be like your chance to kind of show what you're worth or what you can do. And then I had, just a really successful year that year. It got cut short. I had, stress fractures in my back. And then came back in 2022. And I would say that's like the highest point in my career so far is just that whole season.
Yeah.
Career high in innings pitched at the time. I threw a complete game that year. It was just like everything that went like that could go right went right that year for me. And I'd say that was like the highest just because it was over a full year. It wasn't
Yeah.
just one start or like, I had a good week or I had a good month. It was like I put together a full season of quality starts.
Well, you proved that that's where you belong,
Yeah,
for a
and
full
that was
season.
that was that
Yeah.
was really big for me too, is to just to prove that I belong here, and just for myself to show myself like all this work you've done and all the shit you went through to get to this point, and to now have a successful full year and show everyone what you're capable of. It was just something huge for me.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I want to point out too is that like you were ready for your shot, right? Like you made sure that you did the work so that
Hmm.
whenever an opportunity like this came about, you were ready to pounce on it and take the most big the take advantage of it, right? And I think that's an important lesson for people to learn too is just because you're not where you want to be just yet, continue working because you never know how you're
Yeah,
going to get those opportunities, and if
yeah.
it doesn't come it doesn't always come the way that you envisioned it, right? And you're a
Mm-mm.
prime example of that, and you stayed ready for it. And I think that's a huge lesson to learn. The other thing, so what was it like pitching in the WBC? Because from what I remember, those outings and that those games are more like playoff atmosphere, right? So like that had to teach you something, right? Teach you
Yeah,
something about being locked in and eliminating distractions. So like talk to me about what that was like.
yeah. Yeah, so I'd never played, playoff baseball in the big leagues ever. So I had no idea what that atmosphere is even like. Never anything even close to it. I can't even think of what would be close to maybe when the Yankees come to Angel Stadium and it's,
Yeah.
packed stadium. That's it. Like, that's all I can really think of. But I got slated to start against Team USA. I look at that lineup. I'm like, holy shit, here we go. This is what baseball is all about right here. Like, this is what you live for. You live to like pitch against the absolute best. And they're one through like I can't name a lineup that's ever been constructed that's better than that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
insane to me, top to bottom. And it did. It really like I really just had to rely on my process, and my preparation for the game and getting in the weight room and doing my thing and getting out there for the game and kind of just taking it all in. Like it was insane even before the game even started. It was like a European soccer game, like
Yeah.
chants, songs going on,
Music.
those vuvuzelas going, like just horns, everything. It was something I'd never experienced in my life, and it was like loved every minute of it. I was out there like hell yeah, like I can't get
Yeah.
enough of this shit. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Man, yeah, it looked fun. I was watching those games. It was loud.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the energy that you felt from that. And so like I can imagine, you know, you can get again, that's like a shot of like 15 coffees straight into your bloodstream. Like,
Yeah.
so like you have to really work on emotional regulation and regulating your stuff and like slowing down the game, because when those adrenaline kicks in, it's like, whoa, things are going real fast.
Hmm.
So now I want to talk about your current obstacle, right? So like you got hurt and you did it against Shohei, right? It was
Yeah.
that bad against Shohei. Was your elbow bothering you before that, or were you just trying to really strike his ass out for
No,
for bragging
so
rights?
the weird thing is right before the game, I'm getting stretched or whatever, and I was getting my shoulder stretched, and the way, he like took it in external rotation, I was like, dang, it's a little like my elbow's a little tight today. So I was like, you need to
Mm,
just get it, really get in there. That's the only thing I noticed. I was like, I'm just a little more tight today. So we work on it, and then I'm good. I feel fine. Get out there for the game. I'm playing catch. I feel great. Honestly, had a pretty tough year that like this past year, and going into that game plan wise, like just body wise, everything felt that game. I felt the best, felt the most locked in. Like I had a really good plan for that lineup, and I was executing it the way I wanted to for the first. I think it was 2 innings that came out in the third. And Shohei comes up. I can't remember what the first pitch was, but strike on, and then I ripped a slider, like one of the nastier ones I thrown that year, low and away, dotted on the corner. I think he swung and missed 0-2, and that pitch right there, I was like, oh no. Like I felt something in my elbow, and I was like, that didn't feel right. So I catch the ball, and I'm like, all right, well, I can't come out. Like I have him 0-2. I gotta strike him out.
yeah.
Of course, this fucking guy, dude, takes me to 3-2, and every pitch I'm throwing hurts worse and worse. And I remember, I think it was 2-2 or 1-2 at this point. He like fouled the pitch off. We called fastball down and away. I'm like, I'm just gonna rip this as hard as I can, and like I'm gonna try to do it without using my arm. If that makes like I'm gonna try to use
Yeah.
pack, my back, anything but this. And I ripped it 96, but I pulled it a little bit. Obviously, like I had no control. Pulled it a little bit, ball two, and then threw another ball, and then 3-2. We called fastball up and in. I'm like, all right, I got to rip this one. This is for sure my last pitch. Like I knew this was my last pitch. Gripped it as hard as I could, and threw it as hard as I could. It came out like 88 or 89,
It was
and
89, I saw, yeah.
oh my God, the worst pain I've ever felt. I was like jumping, like I just knew right there it was done. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's tough, man. Especially like you knew that it's when you had those certain feelings, you're like, I'm done. What's. So
yeah.
after you feel that, what was the next thoughts that came to your head as soon as you felt that? And then take me to like, after the game, and then also whenever you found out that it was
Yeah.
your UCL.
So right when I came out, like I knew obviously something was wrong. And I didn't necessarily know for sure that like, oh, I blew out. Like it wasn't as excruciating. Like it hurt, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm gonna die hurt.
Yeah.
So, and I've never experienced elbow pain or anything like that before. So I'm like, yeah, this hurts, and like I don't feel good, but I'm holding out. Like I was kind of just optimistic that it'd be, hey, I miss a couple starts. Maybe it's a strain, or I get a shot, I rehab it for a little bit, and I come back later in the season. And then even as we went through the tests, like in the training room, they were still like, they weren't certain that it was, they're like, we're going to get imaging tomorrow and then we'll see. So got imaging. We're playing Dodger Stadium. We had another game the next day in LA. And so we commute. So I'm driving. I had to drive up to LA to get my MRI done that morning. And then on my way back to the stadium, I was like maybe 10 miles away. But as you know, in LA, it takes like an hour and a half to go 10 miles. So I'm in the middle of my drive in the freeway, and our head trainer calls me. He's like, hey, what are you doing right now? I was like, well, I'm driving to the field. I got like 45 minutes left on this 5 mile trip. And he's like, all right, well, all right, I'm not going to wait till you get here. Like, we got the results, yeah, he's like, you tore your UCL completely off, and you have a really high grade tear in your flexor. And I was like, wow, so what? Like, I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah.
I was just kind of in shock. I was like, okay. And then, GM gets on the phone, and, he's really encouraging. He's like, we're going to get you back next year. We're going to rehab you, get you surgery, whatever. Like, you'll be back. Like, don't freak out. Like, you're going to be back. You're going to be back to who you are. Like, whatever. And so that whole day just kind of feels like a fever dream to me. I never had ever gotten injured like that. I mean, I had, the back thing, but it wasn't invasive, no surgery. It's just, hey, rest for 90 days. And this one, I just like couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I had to, get cut open, surgically repaired, all that stuff. And I don't know, like that whole day was just a blur to me. Like I still can't even really my agent was there. I talked to him for a little bit and like just kind of felt like I was on autopilot all day, just thinking about like when am I going to get surgery, all this stuff. That was a Saturday. So I got hurt on Friday. Saturday is when they told me. And then that Sunday we had off. So I was just, out and about as you've seen me in Newport, like walking around. My agent calls me and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna try to get you out like tomorrow to go get surgery, like earliest Wednesday if we can get it." So we're trying to figure out if I'm gonna do it in LA or if I'm gonna do it in Dallas. And we ended up going to Meister in Dallas, and I got surgery that next Wednesday. I flew out Monday morning, had my pre-op Tuesday, surgery Wednesday, and then I flew home the next day. So it was just like I didn't have a lot of time to just sit and think about like what had gone on. I was just like felt like I was, had stuff to
Right.
do. I had to get to the airport, had to, check in, I had to go to the pre-op, and then next day I'm in surgery. Like it was just a crazy.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably for the best. I mean, because I think the biggest for me, like when I tore my shoulder again, when I threw the last pitch, I knew it, and it was the same kind of thing. Madden came out, coming to talk to me, and he sounded like the Charlie Brown teacher. All I heard was wah 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 wah, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
understand what you're saying. Like, just get me off
yeah,
this field. Like, I'm done. And so, I relate to that feeling of like just being an autopilot and not really knowing what's going on. The rest of the day was fuzzy. But I think the toughest part is the not knowing if it's torn or if it's what's that not knowing part sucks. Once I knew it was torn, then I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually done. I'm
yeah,
done. But for you, it was like, okay, my arm is torn. I got to go get it fixed, and then after I get it fixed, I'm gonna start the rehab process. So like, it's not really much more to think about because
yeah.
I feel like now it's just time to get back to work and doing your rehab. So the thing about rehab is like a lot of this rehab is so meticulous, and
Hmm.
for me and you're kind of similar. I'm a fiery guy. I like give a lot of energy to things, but for this rehab process, you have like a band and you're barely even moving like a couple
Yeah,
centimeters and inches. So how do you
yeah.
translate your fieriness and like calm it down so that you're able to do these exercises right? Because in rehab they're like all like you're supposed to go slow and controlled so those little muscles
Hmm.
are being worked out. So like how are you handling the process and how are things going so far?
Yeah, it's also like to me the funny thing about it is like I was rehabbing with the team for 2, 3 months, and I'm going to the stadium getting my rehab done, but I'm still around baseball. I still feel like I'm part of this team, and
Yeah,
you know, and then I get out to Arizona and I'm rehabbing at a clinic, and I look around this clinic and I'm at like an old folk home, basically. Like you know what I mean? It's just like a completely different environment.
yeah,
And that's like something I never really thought about because I've never had to, spend a whole, I mean, I'm spending, what is it, 12 months basically
yeah,
rehabbing.
yeah,
So I've never had to really experience anything like that. It's just like, life comes at you quick. You look around and it's like, I used to sing, Mike Trout is like right there rehabbing next to me. And now it's,
it's
Gary over here. Yeah. Or
Betsy and Gary, James
Meredith from
walking
HR is over there, got her carpal tunnel and needs to get fixed. Like, it's just that's the funny thing to me. But yeah, the rehab itself is, I'm pretty good at, I can follow a plan pretty easily. And so if I can trust it, I know what I need to be doing, and it locks me in. It's something I can lock into, and kind of keep my a little bit of my competitive juices going. I'm just like feeling out each rep, and it's a process of getting better, and I'm excited to just get healthy again.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that's going good. Where does your drive come from, especially now during these times? What drives you? And the other part is, what do you do to get away from the game? How do you
Mhm.
balance yourself? Because that was something for me. I had to get away from the game when I was done with this. I didn't watch baseball. I didn't watch my
Yeah,
outings unless I was looking for something particular. I was like trying to live my life away from the field because you spend all of your day and most of the year doing it. You know what I mean?
hmm,
So, what are the things? One, what drives you? And two, how do you separate yourself from Patrick, the baseball player, from Patrick, the human?
yeah. I'm the same way. I kind of got to distance myself from the game too. I don't like to watch a lot of my own starts unless, I'm looking for specifically something or if I do, like I need a pick me up. I need to remind myself of who I am. I go watch some highlights or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But other than that, I kind of hang around the same people I hung out with growing up my whole life. We grew up playing sports together to middle school and high school together. Like all the friends I kind of hang out with now are friends I've had for my whole life, basically.
that's
And
awesome.
I'm not the baseball player to them. I'm, the kid they grew up with playing football and basketball. And like we, just grew up being kids, stupid kids doing stuff, dumb stuff together, having just
Yeah,
core memories together. And that really helps me take my mind away from the game. And there's not a lot of baseball questions being asked. It's like, it's just life and how we're all doing. And, we all love to golf. We like to watch football, talk about fantasy football, like stuff like that. Just keeps me away. It can completely separate me from the game. Even my rehab too. I can, just shut off and go do that and hang out with my friends and kind of turn that part of me off. But what drives me is I think just something like I think about me as like a toddler. Growing up, I couldn't be, you couldn't get me out of like a sports uniform. I was in the living room dressed up as a basketball player and I'm dunking on Shaq, like, or I'm in there in my football pads or my flag football uniform as like a 6 year old running, throwing myself a ball, catching it with one hand and diving into the couch. Like all I wanted to do was play a sport, like forever. I have an older brother. He's 6 years older than me. I would go to his games and if it was a baseball game, I had to wear a baseball uniform and I would pull my whole family away and they'd have to, my mom would, my grandma would pitch to me. My like aunt would be there playing catcher and I'd be hitting and like running around or same with football games. I'd wear this like plastic helmet to his games, like a Halloween costume, have my
yeah,
like dad or uncle throw me passes all game. Like I had to be in the game too. And so like that's something that still to this day is like I owe it to that kid. If I can't find anything, I owe it to that kid to lock in and be the best I can possibly be because that kid didn't have anything growing up, but he had sports and he was
right.
so happy.
Man, yeah, I was very similar in that fact where I just had to play. I just wanted to be involved in it. It's true love. It's what it is, man. You truly
Yeah.
love what you do, and so
Mhm.
like you're able to go through these highs and lows, these peaks and valleys, to be able to accomplish whatever it is that you need to accomplish or your goals. But the last thing I'll ask you is, as you reflect on where you are now, like what is the biggest lesson that you have learned so far? And what would you tell yourself when you were, how would you take that lesson and communicate that to yourself when you were 15, 16 years old?
I had a chance to go back to like my high school and watch them practice or whatever. And coach asked me to say a couple of things to the players. Me and another kid that I went to high school with, he's 2 years younger, is Tanner Bybee. He was
Oh, yeah.
the runner up to rookie of the year last year.
Yeah.
So this
Great
was
kid.
last year after that year. And so we both went down there and like hung out for practice and you know, I'm terrible at speaking in public. Like I'm terrified of it. I don't like it. I don't like giving advice. Like I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
like super confident in my own advice to people. But the thing I thought about like as I'm walking, because me and him were both like, dude, what are you gonna say? You know? And so I'm walking up and I'm like, okay, I got some. And this is something that I would for sure tell myself as a 15, 16-year-old kid is, especially growing up where I grew up, is a very privileged area. Like there's endless resources. I didn't necessarily grow up with money or anything, but I was fortunate enough to grow up in a really, really, resourceful area and just around good people. But the one thing that I've realized growing up and playing pro ball and getting away from where we live and whatever playing is like people are so quick to, kind of give up on, whatever it is they're doing. If there's any sort of obstacles, this is just, you can apply it to any part of life. And I've seen so many people miss out literally on being called up to the big leagues or being called up to the next level in the minor leagues because, oh, I'm not going anywhere. Like
Mhm.
they're dry, whatever it is in them just tells them like, this is it, it's over. And I saw someone get sent down to double A. I can't remember when this is a 2018 or something. Someone got sent down to double A and they were in triple A having what okay season, got sent down middle of the year. And then a lot of injuries happened. And this guy quit. He was like over it, quit maybe a month later. The guy who was or I think it was a catcher. I don't know. I can't remember. But whoever was playing his position in double A that year ended up getting called up strictly because like all the way to the big leagues because there was an injury. Like you never know what's going to happen, but you can't achieve what you're trying to achieve if you're not even in the game anymore. If you quit, whether it's, you're working a corporate job and you want to move up, but it's a process that takes a long time. And if it's taking too long for your liking and you decide to quit, you never know the next day could be your opportunity. So
Right.
that was what I relayed to them is just don't quit. Like if you truly love what you're doing and you have a goal in mind, just don't ever give up on that goal. Because the second you give up on it, it's gone. Like you
Right.
can't get that time back. You can't get that goal back, you know?
Yeah.
And that was something that kind of was like a little idea that got rolling and I really like lingered on it and thought about it. And it really, kind of just spoke to me.
That's awesome. I bet like when you're speaking, as you were speaking, and it felt like you didn't have to think about it because that's something that was coming from your heart,
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
experience. And I'm the same way with public speaking. It's like it's tough sometimes where if
Yeah.
I'm thinking too much and I start stuttering and all these other things, but when you're
I
speaking
say, oh,
from the heart,
God.
yeah, yeah, that's one of the biggest words. And you know what I mean? I say that all the time, like a filler. You know what I mean? And you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I'm like, when I listen to myself, I'm like, ah, somebody's take that out.
It's so bad. I'm the same way.
Yeah. But man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Great messaging, great advice. I think people can learn a lot from this. I've learned from this. And yeah, I thank you again. And I wish you the best in your rehab. And I'll be ready to watch you pitch next year, brother.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you so much for having me on.